Why I'm here. My name is Petri Lehmuskoski. I'm an entrepreneur for 32 years. If someone claims that you need money to build a company, I can prove you are wrong. From my lapsilisä, what's the English word for that? With my lapsilisä, I built a company which had 120 million turnover without any external funding. That to build companies, you don't always need the money. You can do it yourself. And I'm today a full-time angel investor. That's the only thing I do. I look roughly about 300 companies a year. I work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with the startups. No other work. I have invested in 46 companies to date and roughly invest in about 3 to 8 companies a year. I'm going to tell you about my strategy. Any angel investor, if you want to be successful, you need to have a strategy. Where are you investing in? It's not a charity to just throw money out. It is a business. Article was, do angels exist? Yes and no. Being an angel investor is not charity. I'm not there to give you money and you have fun. I'm there to make money. That's the only reason why I'm doing this. Some people might do that for charity, but most of the angels should not do it. We have demand, return on the invested capital, and typically this is high risk business. The average return to make it business worthwhile has to be 10x. Because only one company in 10 is going to make something. 4 companies out of 10 are going to survive and the rest are going to go bust. A little bit about myself, really. That's I told you. I'm one of the competing, or really one of the founding members of the FIBAN in 2010, long time ago. Why do you take investors into a company? It is when you take external investors, that's your promise to sell the company. That's the only promise you give to the investor. You don't give a promise that you're going to be successful, because that's a combination. You give a promise that you are going to sell the company, because that is the only way how the investor is going to get the money back. Most entrepreneurs, this is a hard decision. It's your baby. But if you go and ask for investment from an investor, you simultaneously promise to sell the company. If it can be sold, it's a totally different story, and if it will happen and what price, etc., etc. But there is a mental promise for the investor on when you take their money. If you don't want to sell the company, I didn't ever want to sell my companies. All my companies are internally financed, because I did not want to take other people's money, because I don't want to sell them. I still own companies and in the family which are basically owned by us and run by maybe my sister or other people. Tough luck. Only less than 15% of the startups are going to survive after the next 3 years. This is try and fail business. What faster you fail, that better is for the entrepreneur and for the investor. Or if you succeed, then you can keep going on. It is there's only one harder business in Finland contrary to this. Do you know what it is? There's a failure ratio which is higher than in startups, in one industry in Finland. We are one of those, having a bar restaurant. About 90% of those companies go bust up within 3 years. And someone says we don't drink enough. A little bit about the startup financing. There are different ways to finance. There's family, friends, and fools. One stage I was the fool, giving the money and miracles happened and money disappeared. There are the angels. Angels all over the world are similar. That's funny when you look of the angel investment statistics in UK or in US. The angels invest within 120 kilometers. Where you live, the angel, if you are further away than 120 kilometers, your chance that the angel invest is closest to zero. The other funny part is that for multiple years, the average investment angel does or did was equal. The amount angel invested on the first rounds was equal, and it didn't matter was it euros, pounds, or dollars. Even in US, the average angel investment is $25,000 per angel. There's only last year there was an increase on this. But average investment from angels is £25,000, euros and dollars. If angel invests more than that, he has to be damn rich. Because his chances is that he's going to lose his money is getting bigger and bigger. That if you're looking for someone to invest hundred thousands, he has to have a substantial wealth to be able to do it. What you hear about Silicon Valley, it doesn't happen anywhere else than Silicon Valley. There are 4 types of angel investors and angel investment strategies. Most of the angel investors have a strategy. They might not know about, but there is a similarity behind it. The one what I call the type V5 is the horse players. It's the industry-specific investors. They know how the horse did last week. They know how basically the weather impacts, who's the driver, etc. They do industries they understand. This is typically entrepreneurs. I make the money on this industry. I invest in something which is close by, which I understand. Then there are the guys who play the vakioveikkaus, the football. The variations and the variables increase, but it's still limited. This is the most common Finnish type of investor. They understand what they're doing roughly, and the industry where the company goes roughly. The third type, it's the lottery players. VCs play lottery game. They gamble. They gamble typically even with other people's money. VCs take risks, and the risk have to have a huge reward. If you dream about VC investment and VC coming into the company, there are a number of facts what you need to know as entrepreneur. First, the exit value of the company typically has to be equal of the fund's amount. If the investor is a 1 billion fund, your potential exit value needs to be 1 billion or more, because only 1/10 succeeds. That sense, running after a VC big fund, if you don't have a value potential, it's typically worthless. Second, VC investment don't do exits early. US average time for VC investment is 9 years. The time the VC did the investment, time the exit happened, the average is 9 years. The VCs are there for a long, long time. Even if you go speak with the Finnish VCs, the average is close to that. And it's for VC, we just had a chat with Jan, for VC, there's only 2 options on the exit. 0 or huge sum. Anything between isn't acceptable. Third, what you as entrepreneurs you have to remember, 98% of the founders of the company in VC invested companies are not with the management after 5 years. If you are a founder and you are managing director today, you take VC money, your chances being the managing director after 5 years are almost non-existent. And if you look at the big companies, Apple, you take Google, etc., they came the replacement VCs or CEOs in. because they bring the people who are right for the stage of the company. They have the resources for that, they have money for that, basically. That's not bad. It doesn't have anything to do with your value, what you own on a company. It's just the job with what you're performing. You might be the product owner or CTO, etc., but as a managing director, rarely happens. The last thing is that typically when angel investors discuss about the business or basic transaction with the founders, there's loads of friction. That's a wrong place to have the friction because the money is not divided there. Money, if potential money, is being divided later on. And it's not divided. There's some kind of misconception that money division is based on ownership. If you go on VC game, VC investments, money is not divided based on how much you own the company. Money is based on what the contract says. Who knows a liquidation preference? Okay. Typical term in VC investor or shareholder agreement is a liquidation preference. It says that if the company is being sold, who gets first and how much do they get money? And nothing to do how much did they own. A good example in Finland, about 2 years ago, a company did a 30 million exit here in Finland. The founders owned 80% of the company. How much money did the founders get? Any guesses? 30 million exit, founders owned 80%. Founders got 2 million out of the 30 million. How the money is divided doesn't have any correlation with how much you own about the company. Liquidation preference is how typically you do it. Silicon Valley average liquidation preference is 2.7. That the VC invests 10 million, first when the company is in exit, the VC gets 27 million. And if something is left, that goes then being divided. Or if the VC invests, let's say, 5 million, then it's like 13 million goes out. And who does know what's the average US exit value? Any guesses? Okay, average US exit value is 15 million. If they got the 5 million with 2.7% liquidation preference, 13 million went to the VCs and 2 million went to the founders in US average. That's how, and then it's really how much does the basically angels own in the beginning doesn't really matter. It's different game afterwards who is, how the money is being divided. Why startups fail? No team. No real team. No added value team. One person is not the team. One guy having employees is not the team. No customer-focused product development. Finns are great in developing products for products that no one wants, that no one needs. You cannot dream up a product that someone wants. You have to go and face the customer to make a product they want, to solve a problem what they really have. Overbuilding. Typical US development today, you have a premium, you buy the price or the basic real product. The real product has actually less features than the freemium had. The freemium is just a test bed of what features are needed. And then they focus on developing all the products what people needed or used. No metrics. Finns are bad in metrics. Analytics. If you are building something on a market platform or something on the web, you have to have real metrics. Google is not real metrics. If you say I'm using Google, I say okay, you don't use nothing. It's worthless in most cases. Funding hunting, as I mentioned, funding is just to help you to get to the next stage. Funding doesn't guarantee anything, no success, nothing. It just helps you get to the next stage. If you are hunting for funding, it will kill you. It's a hard work, you have to prepare, you have to practice to be successful. Bad mentors and environment. Typical mistake angels make is to trying to force the company to do a scaling, premature scaling, grow too fast. When we go in the company, we say, slow down. You don't have to get any sales. You got now funding for 12 months. You just have to figure out what you're going to prove in the next 12 months. And it's not going to be the sales, because no one grows sales in 12 months. Building sales and getting product market fit, etc. takes time. And then that's one typical mistake what we see from many of the mentors. Or on the big company, it's easy to scale. It's one of my companies where I started in '89. We are now taking the turnover from 30 million to 45 million within over a year. And it's easy to scale. It's just putting in more through the machine. Startup does not have a machine yet. They have to figure out what is the machine. That's hint for the investors. Try that. Do not push them to premature scale. There's a good research done on that called Startup Genomic, telling that biggest reason why companies fail is that they go in selling mode too early. They don't yet know what to sell, where to sell, to whom to sell, what price to sell, what business model, etc., etc. Even what product they end up selling. And limited network. This is a great opportunity to network to you. Other founders, other investors, etc. Things are bad in networking. Go and meet. Throw out business cards. Say hello. Try to make impression to people that they remember you. Yes, that's good. It's because you don't ever know who they are going to be, what they are going to be, where are they going to be. I had a few about a year and a half ago, I was so dumb I didn't network. I was in Silicon Valley in one of my friend's house, and then we were having beers after a long working day, and this one guy walked in and had the beer, and then he went out, and then I was like wondering why everyone was like, going to happen. It happened to be Elon Musk, and I didn't even say hello. My dumb. Then I learned, oh shit, you always have to say hello. I'm Petri. I'm from Finland. And does he care? Doesn't matter. But yeah, you don't never know who they are. He came with jeans on and went out. And these ones are commonly known facts. All the entrepreneurs repeat mistakes. We do the mistakes. Every time I have started a company, I have repeated mistakes. If you go to any entrepreneur who has done multiple companies, they repeat the mistakes. Even we know the mistakes. That's unavoidable. The question is, how fast can you resolve that mistake and then backtrack and go on? Challenges, what we face, not enough preparation. If I invest my time, I expect the other party also to invest time on what they're doing, etc. Searching for money, not selling. Running out of money. If your runway is few weeks, you are too late. Then you have to have a good explanation that you have been trying to get financing for 6 months. Getting financing takes 6 months. If you get it done faster, you are lucky. But yeah, it takes time. And someone, yeah, I'm starting today and my runs out of tomorrow. That's a bad judgment on the entrepreneur's side. And then there comes always the question to investor, okay, what other bad judgments does the guy make? Unclarity between the company and the entrepreneur. Few times met that the company's money went to the entrepreneur, etc. You have to have a good clarity on that. We just had terminate one entrepreneur because the company's money, his money went a little bit. It wasn't not the final termination, but almost. But yeah, we had to kick him out. If he can't give his money and the company's money separate, it's in worst case it's a crime. And it's bad for the board because the board has to act according that it's a crime, etc. Otherwise, the board might end up to paying for that money. Angels' role, entry, exit hasn't been thought of. The sad fact is that angels want to add value. Most angels add the value is in form of money. That's a sad story. If you have 10 investors, not all of them can add value. the entrepreneur cannot take what the 10 people are saying, because it's telling 10 different stories, because it's based on the backgrounds, etc. There only can be 2-3 investors who can actually add value. And then the investors also have to actually, who are the ones at this stage? The other ones can maybe on the later stage. I have had few cases where 6-7 investors are screaming different stories and entrepreneurs in the middle and doesn't have a clue what to do. Investment too large for, this is something someone might dispute. There are like statistical, the investment lasts for 12 to 18 months, investment round. That's a typical statistical. An entrepreneur loses roughly about 20% of the company per round. That's about roughly until the VCs come, then you begin to lose much more. But until that time, you roughly lose about, it's the money what you need for 12 to 18 months and 20% of the company. No correlation amount of the money on that sense. If you're doing something different, there has to be a good explanation why you're doing something different. Why are you raising maybe 10% of the company, only losing because you might have overvaluation, or why you're raising money for 2-3 years? That's also another thing we have to explain why you're doing this. Because we are looking, typically when I look 300 companies through a year, I look statistical deviations. And if there's too many of those, I don't look the company more. Because there is too much explanation learning to be done on an early stage, which makes it difficult.